Hey everybody, I'm Kris Guthridge, and these are my top 5 most anticipated games for E3 2016. Alright, first up isn't necessarily a game per se, more of a franchise I would like to see represented at the show, and that is, of course, Star Wars. Now, we all know that Amy Hennig from Uncharted fame and Visceral Games are working on something Star Wars related, but mum's been the word on that project. We don't have a lot of details about it, we don't really know what to expect. There's a lot of rumors flying around online that possibly it's some sort of action RPG, maybe even, crazily enough, a follow-up to the old Republic Commando game from, now 2 generations ago? But we really don't know. Personally, I wouldn't hold my breath for an Imperial Commando or whatever the hell people think it would be called, but I would totally be down for a new action RPG set in the Star Wars universe. Maybe something to recapture that Knights of the Old Republic magic. Who knows? Who knows? Hey, maybe even a new Starfighter game, something similar to the old X-Wing TIE Fighter games. I mean, really, the sky, or stars, or whatever is the limit here. I know Star Wars games tend to be really hit or miss sometimes, but that does nothing to deter my optimism. I would love to get some indication of some new, big, awesome Star Wars game on the horizon at E3 this year. This next game's for the multiplayer addict in me, and that is Ubisoft's For Honor. Of everything that Ubisoft showed at their press conference during last year's E3, this is probably the one that stood out the most to me personally. It reminds me, for obvious reasons, a lot of Chivalry, which is another team-based, medieval, multiplayer, competitive game that I also happen to love. And I think it'll be interesting, for better or for worse, to see what a AAA studio does with that sort of concept. What little we've seen of it so far seems to be a blend of something like Chivalry and maybe even, Dynasty Warriors almost. The combat and animation that they've shown so far seem to be particularly on point, and I'm really excited to see more about this Art of War system that Ubisoft has developed for competitive multiplayer melee combat. Now, granted, there doesn't seem to be anything too deep to this game. It's just a bunch of knights and Vikings and samurais killing each other over and over again. But that's something I could get into. That would be this could be my next great time waster. Something to break up the monotony of all these big single-player games that we're looking forward to later this year. While I don't expect this game to necessarily set the world on fire, I'm personally very excited for it. And I hope Ubisoft has it playable on the show floor. We'll see. This next game marks the only Xbox exclusive entry on this list, and coincidentally, the only reason why I still own an Xbox One. I'm speaking, of course, of Scalebound. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know what to expect from this game. I know it's a Platinum Games game. I know it's created and directed by Hideki Kamiya. Those are 2 good things. But I'm still having a hard time really, truly wrapping my head around what it's going to be like actually playing this game. It seems like such a unique and ambitious concept, and I don't really have anything else to compare it to other than maybe other Hideki Kamiya games. But even Kamiya himself says this game's going to be unlike anything else Platinum Games has ever done. So, I don't really know. I do know what we have seen so far has been supremely badass. Lots of really cool, really slick sci-fi fantasy action going on. Dragons, who doesn't love dragons? And if this game has the foundation of excellent game design that the rest of Hideki Kamiya's catalog has, then I feel pretty confident in assuming that this will be an incredibly awesome game. I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on it at the first possible moment. Of all the new IPs that have come out in the last 5 years, Dishonored is definitely one of my favorites. So, naturally, I was super jazzed when Bethesda and Arcane Studios announced a sequel, Dishonored II, at last year's E3. So this new one's supposed to pick up like 15 years after the first one, which means that Emily, the little girl from the first game, is now an adult. And she's also the new player character, which is cool, especially since Corvo is still in the game as a playable option, giving you 2 different characters to choose from. I'm super excited to see how Corvo and Emily will differ in their gameplay based on their different mechanics, since apparently all of Corvo's abilities from the first game are back and improved, while Emily's set of powers are completely new, completely different for Dishonored 2. Some of the new powers that Emily has includes a Shadow Walk-like ability where she turns into a smoke monster type thing to stalk people, a new Doppelganger ability where she can make copies of herself, Domino where she can link together different enemies, kind of like a voodoo doll sort of power where if she kills one of them, they all die. Just some really cool, interesting sounding stuff going on with Emily, so I cannot wait to see how this stuff works in-game. The new setting for the game, Karnaca, looks completely different from Dunwall, which is exciting. As much as I like Dunwall, it would be nice to see more areas of the Empire of the Isles and kind of flesh out the world of Dishonored. Whether or not Dishonored 2 turns the franchise on its head or just kind of offers more of what the first game already brought us, I'm excited either way. Luckily, we already know that Dishonored 2 will be at E3 this year, so I'm looking very much forward to seeing more of this game, learning more about it. I cannot wait.
But it's always good to see a familiar face.
And speaking of high-profile sequels, that brings me to the last game on my list, Mass Effect Andromeda. The controversially disappointing ending to the third game aside, I absolutely adore the Mass Effect series. It embodies everything I love about sci-fi. Action, diverse cast of characters, weird brand new worlds and technology. It's got everything. So it is next to impossible for me to not be excited by a new Mass Effect. Especially since this one is starting on a fresh canvas, setting itself far after the original trilogy, giving us a new cast of characters, new worlds, a new galaxy even to explore. There's a lot to look forward to with this game. The Mass Effect series has always been an action RPG, and I'm hoping that this new one kind of works in some more RPG into that equation, instead of leaning so heavily into the shooter category like 2 and 3 did. Either way, it's going to be a new RPG from BioWare. It's kind of hard not to be at least a little intrigued by that. So I hope we get lots and lots and lots of new information about this game this year. I am sorely looking forward to it. It is still a little ways off. It was pushed out of the end of this year into early next year. But it'll be nice to start to see this game finally take shape as we approach its launch. And so there it is. These are my most anticipated games of E3 2016. Super stoked about this show. This is my first E3 I've ever been to, so hopefully it'll be a good experience for me. I look forward to seeing what Los Angeles has to offer. I look forward to talking about all of this on the podcasts that we will be doing live from California during that week. So thanks for watching, guys, and definitely keep it tuned here for more to come.